startar. Du får nog bara godkänna den tror jag. Så att du
Ja,
vet, för det är väl den nya GDPR.
just det.
Nu ska bara se var vi hittar den här andra. Där var den.
Bra ställe att hålla det här på.
Nej, det var så. Det var inte den jag ville ha. Där har vi dig. Oh, hello and welcome to Heart to Heart with Eva. And my special guest for today is Frida Rydqvist.
Yes.
Hi, Frida.
Hello, hi. Nice to be here. Nice
Oh,
to see you again.
yeah, nice to see you too. And it's so lovely to meet you after all this year because I know you since a little bit back. I don't really know you, but I know who you are. And we are choosing to do this on English today because Frida is already a international astrologer. Astrologer, yes. So we are from Sweden, both of us, but we are doing this in English. So once again, welcome, Frida, and hope that everything is going fine for you. And yeah, good. Do you have any questions that you want to start with? Otherwise, I will pop a question to you immediately.
No, I think we can just start. Yeah, sounds good.
Then my question to you is because I know that you have a other occupation. So how did you turn into become an astrologer?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's also something that I reflect upon a lot myself because it's something fairly new for me. Yeah, but I can start by telling a little bit about myself. I am actually trained within psychology, so I have studied to become a psychologist. I have worked with therapeutic methods and yeah, in psychiatry. But I actually left the clinical field a while ago. So now I'm in research and I'm doing research in psychology as a PhD student.
Mm.
So astrology is something that is more like my part-time interest. It's not my full-time career. It's something that I do as a part-time business. And
So you combine the two words, so to speak.
yes, I combine them. It's just that in Sweden and in many other countries, we have to be a little bit also careful because we have to separate what is evidence-based practices like psychological therapeutic methods, and we have to separate that from things like astrology because astrology is something that is not scientific in that way, although it's very complex. But I just want to really highlight that it's something different from my role as a psychologist.
Oh, it totally is. It totally is.
Yeah.
What makes it so interesting? So, if you could explain to what is astrology, because you have already told us why you went into astrology, but what exactly is astrology? And before you go, I just want to say I find this a very, very interesting subject to speak about, but I have such a difficulty to do my own chart and remember the constellations. So please explain for everyone like me who doesn't understand what is astrology.
Yeah, the way I talk about astrology, because I have been into astrology for 10 years now. I started in 2011, and my ex-husband was actually also an astrologer, and his father as well. So I learned certain things from them. But I think my own interpretation of astrology would be that astrology is a method that we can use to interpret our life, our surroundings, by looking at the positions of the sky, the planets in the skies. So that's why we talk about astrology as being as above, so below. So that there's something on the sky that will reflect within us. Just as we carry energy, there's energy in the celestial bodies. So there's like an exchange between us and the celestial happenings,
Yeah,
basically.
that's a well-known expression in
Yeah.
every sort of spiritual work. So above, so below. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please continue.
And what people forget to mention sometimes about astrology is that, I mean, astrology is a really old subject, like thousands of years. And in the beginning, astrology was really closely linked to astronomy. They were actually the same sort of practice back in the days. And people who were interested in astrology, they were also interested in astronomy. Maybe they were interested in religion, spiritual practices, mathematics. So, I mean, the people that were into astrology back in the days, they were not just any person from the street. Like, they were highly regarded people that became astrologers for the kings, or the royals, or people that steered countries. So that is really important to highlight as well, because sometimes today there's this risk that we can also forget how complex and how deep astrology is, because we have been presented with sun sign astrology and simplified versions of astrology. But I just want to say that it's a vast subject. There are so many different branches of astrology, and you can really become a nerd within astrology if you want. There's so much to learn.
But I'm so glad that you highlighted the fact that it's actually a very ancient art. And as many things in the spiritual realms, everything comes from a long lineage back and have been sort of left out there and not so valued during the times. So that is so good that you actually lifted that up. It's an ancient art and
Yeah.
it's not just something that you make up. It's a whole
Yeah.
science behind it. So yeah, thank you for making that a fact today.
Yeah.
So you have
Because
already, sorry.
Oh, I always bring that up because for me it has been such a personal conflict also, because since I have studied astrology for 10 years and been around astrologers like my ex-husband and my father-in-law, I have also realized that for me as a psychologist, as somebody who is in academia, somebody that is supposed to be very educated, for me to come out as an astrologer was actually something quite big, because people here in Sweden, they don't expect you to be into these kind of subjects if you are, for example, somebody that is a scientist, or
Mm.
if you're into those traditionally academic subjects. So I just really want to show also, with my sort of way to practice astrology, that you can have one foot in science and in the traditional sort of paradigm, while also keeping the other foot outside of there, because we can integrate these practices. And just as I go to the hairdresser or I go to other places for my well-being, going to an astrologer is also a way to take care of yourself or do things that you enjoy. It's very important for me to say that also, that maybe we should not use astrology for medical purposes or to diagnose people with certain conditions. No, but we can use astrology as a tool to like mirror ourselves and learn things about ourselves, being creative with our thinking. And those are things that we sometimes lack today when we are in a very scientific paradigm where everything has to be proven and very controlled. I think we need to let ourselves go into these subjects as well.
Mm. And astrology is like many other things a complement to the life that you're already living. And by mirror, as you said, the fact that you are have your chart in some constellation that we are going to go into later, that I am a specific type of person, and that is reflecting because of the astrology chart that I am connected to, right? So, but I'm a bit curious about, you said you had your ex-husband and his father as an astrologer. Is it, were they, so to speak, the ones who enlightened your interest in this? So, yeah, well, that is a good way to have family teaching you to. Mm.
Yeah, it was just really because this was 10 years ago, back in 2011. And all I knew about astrology before that was basically the sun sign astrology that you can read in magazines. So I didn't have so much knowledge about astrology, and I had never seen a horoscope before. So when I met my ex-husband, he was into astrology, numerology, certain, yeah, a lot of different kind of more ancient practices. And the first thing he asked me was, when are you born? And I was just like, why do you want to know that? But it turned out that he was interested in my horoscope. He wanted to show me astrology. And I'm a really curious person. Like, I'm curious about so many things. So I was
Yeah,
just
I get that.
interested. Yeah, I just started reading a little bit. I have to say that the time when I was together with him and his father and they showed me these things, I was just listening with like one ear. I was not really that interested, I have to say. I was more like, okay, astrology is interesting, it's cool, but it's maybe not something for me. It was actually when me and my husband decided to get divorced and we're about to split that he told me, oh, I'm going to give all my astrology books away. Do you want them? And then I was like, I cannot see books being thrown away, so sure, I will take them. And from there on, I found my own interest for astrology. And today I can even say that my ex-husband has told me that I probably know more than him. So
Well,
I
that's
have
a
really
good, that's a
studied a
good
lot also
upgrade,
these
right?
10. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, that's beautiful.
yeah.
It's beautiful. And that will bring us into the next subject about how you are using astrology as a complement in your own life. And you mentioned a bit there, the sun astrology is the ones that we are reading about in the papers. And those are the most astrology phenomenon that we are knowing about here in Sweden. And oh, that wasn't fair. Of course, we do know about the other ones too, but the sun astrology is the most in every use week paper, you know.
Mhm.
So, tell me a bit about how you work and how you are connected to astrology in your daily life.
I think in the beginning, from a personal point of view, I was just interested. I just saw it like, because the horoscope is like a map of a round, like from of the sky in a round form. And in the beginning, I was just basically curious to find out, okay, what is this? How do you read this? Like, but now, as the years have passed, I have actually used astrology more and more for my, you can say, self-development in some sort of way. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just as you said, there are so many different practices, and I am sure that you can find the answers by going to yourself. You can find the answers by just living your life, going through therapy, doing a tarot reading. There are so many different paths, but astrology for me has really helped me to, like I say, mirror myself with myself. I have learned to also think in other ways, because one thing, for example, about me, I have had a lot of worry in my life about, oh, people maybe think that I'm too much of this or too much of that, or yeah, I've had a little bit of thoughts about how others perceive me. And through astrology, I've actually been able to heal some of those things, because with astrology, like I say, it's a way of externalizing processes within yourself. If you look at the horoscope, it's like you can externalize information and look at it from another angle. And you can be like, oh, is this maybe not the way I thought about myself? Perhaps it could be like this. So that's why I say also, like, for me, some people say that astrology can be limiting, it can shrink. That's what the critics say, right? They say that if you're into astrology, you become narrow-minded and brainwashed, and it's like a cult. But I say the opposite, because when you externalize information in a birth chart, you open your mind. You open your mind to new ways of thinking. What if it's like this, or what if it's like that, or what if I can do this, or I can do that? So that's also how I use it, to broaden my mind, to be more creative, to think more open-mindedly, and to have more self-compassion to myself.
Yeah, because I have this thought run through my head that you are speaking, and that is like when you are tapping into whether it's astrology and numerology, yeah, well, I don't know that word, but healing it and everything else, you are actually getting a perception of a greater all. That you
Yes.
are not alone, that you are in a place where you're supposed to be,
Mhm.
and the astrology chart can actually help you to realize your position in life and the mission that you have.
Yeah.
So that is a beautiful side of you that you have grown with astrology, because that is
Yeah.
such a compliment to yourself, and a huge, expansion of your own mind and vision.
Yeah.
So that is a connection, and you are not limiting yourself. I don't believe that. Everything that
No.
you learn is a way to express the divine and the all
Yes.
heavenly realms. So yeah.
And that is so important to mention what you are saying now. I can relate also to this, that some people, when I say this, they seem to think, the critics, that you narrow your mind with astrology, but I say the opposite. And we can also talk in terms of dynamic or holistic. Like, we as a human being, we are more something holistic. And that's just how I see an astrological chart as well, because I mean, nothing is deterministic in astrology. It's just not like you are born with a certain placement and that means that you will go a certain direction. No, everything is much more, how can you say, open in that sense. And it's, I like to call it a holistic method, because you realize also that as people, we carry all the planets in our charts, we carry all the different constellations. That means we all carry the same sort of energies within ourselves, just that they are portrayed and expressed in different ways that are supposed to complement, maybe, each other as a whole.
Mm.
So we can make so many thoughts based on astrology and what it is, that can be really like liberating for you as a human also, and give you some sort of, like you say, feeling that you are on a good path with your life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the way you express yourself. I really, really do.
Thank you.
Um, you have a lot of knowledge with you, and you know how to share it too, and that's perfect, because that will bring us into when you work with clients. Because when I grew up, I was sending in my, you know, uh, my birth dates and month and whatever, and I to someone, or if I had a friend, and we were using, books and everything, and was sitting there together and checking out how this worked. But as I grew older, there was started to come software to download, that actually was very accurate.
Mm.
So that is not a stupid thing to use. I mean, you should be using technology if you can. So, but there are a lot of people just tapping in their statistics and send it off and get a download of paper back.
Yeah.
So, how do you work with clients? Do you prefer online sessions, one to one, or how do you work?
Yeah, I can start by saying that becoming an astrologer like this was never in my plan. Like, I have to say that also, because my plan has always been to like go into academia and work with research and science in those ways, psychology. But it was somebody at my old work that was interested in astrology. A lot of people were interested, medical doctors, all sorts of people were very interested, but under the surface. They would come to me with like a post-it and be like, "Hi, can you look at my chart for me?"
Are you
Uh,
surprised when they come and ask you that?
yes, because it's, I like I say, people, maybe you don't see it on me now, but I have went through a lot of years where I've been ashamed also for liking astrology, because it can be seen so controversial when you're in my position. So I have also toned it down a lot, but now I'm more open, as you can see. But yeah, it started back then a couple of years ago, because I've been studying for 10 years this year. But the actual reading started maybe 3 years ago, when some people started coming to me. And what I did then was that I use a software, as you mentioned. I write in the birth data. You need the time of your birth, the exact time, the location, and you need the date, of course. And from there, I can cast a chart, a horoscope. And when I started with the readings, I did written interpretations, which means that I read a chart, I look at the chart, I read what I see, I write what I see for the person to read. But as time passed, I'm very much into like the whole being ethical, being, taking care of the people I see, because I am a trained psychologist, so I'm aware of that things can also go wrong in these sort of settings. People are vulnerable, maybe. So it's not regulated. These sort of practices are not regulated in Sweden. But the way I want to do this is that I want to meet the person. I want to be clear to say to them that I don't do written interpretations anymore, because then I give you a piece of paper that is for you to interpret on your own. And I much rather have you sitting with me in dialogue, because then I can tell you what I see. And when I see things, we can also discuss. And then I might notice if something doesn't land right. So that's basically what I offer now as a part-time thing. I meet with people from all over the world. I read their birth charts online, and they get a recording, a file from me afterwards that they can re-listen to. I think meeting person like that in conversation is more ethical, and I want the person to feel like they have also been able to express their interpretation, because it's their life. I see certain things in the horoscope, and many times looking at a horoscope can be also quite intimate, because as an astrologer you learn to see more and more and more. So I have huge respect for that, and for the people that come to me, that I want them to feel comfortable and gain something out of the reading.
I totally love this. Uh, More people should take responsibility for what they are doing, and just not leaving a person to handle things on their own if they are reaching out to get help, and they are reaching out if they are getting in touch with you. So that is a beautiful way, and a very step up in the astrology
Yeah.
society.
Yeah, it's just very difficult, because you know also like me that these sort of practices are not regulated at any way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have also had people saying to me, astrologers online saying to me things that I can understand where they come from, but they say it in a way that could potentially damage me. And those are things like, you're going to fail with your marriage, you're not going to be able to yada yada yada, you will forever be yada yada yada. I don't use those sort of phrases, because like I say, astrology is not deterministic. I cannot say, for example, Eva, in 1 year you are going to marry again. I cannot say those things,
Yeah.
because what we look at are like patterns.
Yeah.
Many times we are very very right as astrologers, but I like that you have to keep humble, and you have to have the respect that timelines change, life can go,
Oh,
you
that's
have your
very
own
important
potential
too.
to,
Mm.
that you are in charge of your life, I am in charge of my life, so we don't lose our own agency.
Yeah. Oh, you're so right on so many things there, because it is so true that we are actually shifting timelines all the times, and you have to keep that in mind whether you are in is your line of duty or in other occupations. That you have a free will of choice, and depending on what you are choosing in the moment, will gather another timeline's essence into your life, and you are switching forth and back and forward between those timelines until you are on your own path again. There are some huge things that we are not getting away from, and that are supposed to be and meant, but even those things can be postponed, and just by telling you that something is going to happen in like 2 weeks could surely mess with your mind, even if it does or doesn't, because you can choose another timeline and choose to do something else that avoids that. If it's meant to happen, it will come later on anyway. But oh, I'm so glad you lifted that. I actually had a friend, and I just need to say this because this is very, very uh, important message. She went to a tarot, did a tarot reading once in her early 20s, and when she approached her 40s, she was so nervous because the the message for her in her early 20s was that her husband was supposed to die when she turned 40. So she was a such a mess inside because she was so afraid, and she turned 40 and he's still alive, and
Yeah.
she has passed, and she's 15 now. So, you know, oh, she hasn't
Mm.
passed, but she has moved on to 50 now. So is still alive. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Frida. That is the responsibility you are talking about.
Yeah, it's really important that we take that responsibility when we work with healing, astrology, tarot readings,
Mm,
because we have to be careful also. Because I mean, what is really important for me is also to that I should not be in the center of attention when I do a reading. Like then it's all about the client,
mm,
and I just talk about what I see. And I also want to mention, because for example, in astrology, I had a client a couple of weeks ago where I saw that I'm always curious when I make these pinpointed interpretations, but I asked her, did you by any chance have any traumatic experience with your mother? Because I saw that in the horoscope. And then she said, yes. And I said, okay, if I have to guess what it's about, I would guess that it's about that your mother was not there for you during this and this and this. And I try to also bring in the concept and explain this to people that don't know astrology, that just because I see something like that doesn't mean that that is bad, because it means that just as there is not something that is only good or only bad, in astrology there's like everything that comes with a hardship or with a challenge will eventually give you huge strength.
mm,
So it's so important to mention that also, that there are no bad astrological charts. There are more challenges, yes, for certain people, but they also get a lot of development, and you can always get something positive out from your traumatic or hard experiences from some point of view.
and when I listen to you now, I also, because I get question popped in. That's why I don't want to have a huge conversation before we start these interviews, because I want to tap into
Yeah.
what's happening. And there is this word just popping up there, that you are not only an astrologer, because you are also a healer, and you are combining those two when you have a session. So you are using your skills to actually get in touch, like a quantum healing type, and using the astrology, you're combining two words there. So that is so profound. And I also want to mention that for those who doesn't do that, it's not that we are saying that you can't be able to do this and perform this and take responsible what you're doing, and you not doesn't necessarily have to be something else either. You doesn't have to be a healer to do that, but you are responsible for maybe how you put it. So even if you know within your heart that something is going to happen, maybe you shouldn't be telling that so directly, unless the client actually is asking for that, because we have also a free choice of will. So, oh, I like this. A healer in astrology. That was the first time I've heard of this.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so taking on a new path here, Frida.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you mentioned that, because that for me is also, it's interesting to hear about myself, because as I say, I have a little bit kept my ability locked down in some sense. Like I went into the academic field of becoming a psychologist, but astrology is such a huge part of me, and it's basically, I say, astrology chose me. I didn't choose astrology, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, and I can just say that sometimes I wonder, because astrology is very logical. It's a lot about learning, like you have to learn so much. It's such a deep subject. And I know one branch of astrology, but there are so many other types also that people know more about. And you never stop learning. But what is important to mention is also the logic part is one, but there's also a layer of like intuition involved in the astrological work. Because when I look at the chart, maybe I see patterns, certain things that emerged for me. But if another astrologer looks, yeah, of course, the big strokes are going to be the same, but
Mm.
maybe something else comes up for that person. So it's also where I like to say that there's something intuitive also about astrology. It's like a balance of the two of the best worlds, I like to call it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you have absolutely shed some light on that you can actually combine the quantum healing, and the astrology. part together, and you have definitely something going there that you
Yeah.
should keep doing. Absolutely. So that will bring us into the next question, what your plans are for the future, so to speak.
Yeah, I used to be a person that was very like, okay, this is what I want for the future and this is what I'm going to do. But I think also now in like all of these things have happened quite quickly. Like, yes, I've studied for 10 years, but now the last couple of months or year, things have really moved very fast. And I mean, I started an Instagram account where I just write about astrology because I like to teach. I like to show people practical ways of for themselves to interpret their charts. So I will continue with my Instagram account where I write in English and I post videos also in English. But a part of that, I have my business as an astrologer, and I am just continuing with that, and I'm not doing any marketing or nothing like that. I totally believe that the people who are meant to see me and connect with me will come to me. And I have had people from Dubai, Australia, Sweden, like a lot of different countries. And yeah, they can just book through my website and I just read their chart. And that's basically it for now. That's what I will continue with.
Yeah.
And apart from, I'm a little bit busy also with, I used to have an astrology class a couple of weeks ago in Swedish. So I'm also trying to maybe develop a little online course concept.
Oh, so you're teaching
People,
too.
yeah, I've been teaching a little bit just for fun, but I'm just trying it out for the moment. Um, I just got such good feedback on the things that I put out there. So for me it's just fun to do more of this and it gives me energy. That's important.
Yeah, because it should be fun. Whatever you're doing should be fun and it should be giving you energy. Is it
Mm.
if it isn't fun and if it's draining your energy, that is probably something you shouldn't be doing. So, of course, that is the other cue in what we are doing. We need to be on track of how we are feeling. And otherwise, we could also, and that is worth mention, if you are feeling drained about what you are doing, you're probably picking up someone else's energy or drawing energy from them, and that is not a line of duty in your profession to do that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and it's no coincidence either that things are speeding up for you because there is a global thing called ascension, and that is activating a lot of people around. And that is not that you are waking up one day and being something that you aren't. You have already had this in you, just waiting for the right time to pop up. So, yeah, you've been in training for a long time, and
Yeah.
now is the time to shine your light here.
You
Uh,
know, that is so interesting what you're saying because another astrologer, I've been to many astrologers also, and one astrologer told me exactly this. He said, it's something within you that's being activated because you've always been an astrologer. You've been an astrologer before, and you know a lot about these things. It just has to be reactivated for you to like embrace and put it out there. And for me, it just came as such a surprise, like I say, because I mean, yes, I've been into this for 10 years, but it's not exactly like I have read 100 books. You know what I mean?
mhm.
It's I think I don't talk about this so often because people might not understand sometimes, you know. Maybe they expect, or maybe it's because I come from academia where you're supposed to, you
Yeah.
know a lot of things, you read a lot of books, you have a lot of knowledge, but for me, when it comes to astrology, yes, I study, yes, I read, yes, I learn, but there's also just something that is, in here. I cannot
Yeah.
explain it better. It's just when I see something, I just know.
Yeah.
Or I'm getting more comfortable, maybe trusting that process. If I see something in a chart and I hear a voice in my mind saying, ask about her pets, then I'm like, okay, what about your pets? And I see something there. So it comes from the chart, but it's like something within me that is,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I'm so new to these things, so I'm just like on a real roller coaster ride. And
There are usually, if you're doing tarot cards, you have this picture and symbols, and they are activating a lot of language within the subconscious, both as a channeler and intuitive. You can also pick up energy from the other ones, or read the sequence that is about to be spoken out in the session. But most of the time, you're actually tapping into your guides or going higher and channeling a, like, crying in the entourage. I'm using that because that is what I am
Yeah.
tapping into. So that is why. So this is getting more and more interesting, Frida, because if you are getting these messages, you're already tapping into the other parts. So you're combining astrology, you're a quantum healer, and you are a channeler too.
Yeah,
Well,
I've just never talked about it this way because yeah, I mean, I've been interested I started when I was like 14 or so. I started reading books about metaphysics and these subjects. So I've always been interested. But it's just that seeing myself as somebody that should talk with other people about these subjects,
mm,
and that has been such an interesting thought for me because I've been to mediums and healers and astrologers, and I've just always thought like, oh, it's them there.
yeah.
Doesn't apply to me. But the more I think about it, like I've had astrologers tell me, you could be a good astrologer. And I was like, no. They kept telling me.
Mm,
And today I see why. Yes, I can be a good astrologer. And I just think that all of us, we have, of course, right, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have these abilities
oh
to
yes.
receive information and to gain knowledge about things, and to we have this instant knowing also. It's just that it's layered with a lot of other distractions that we need to let go of. And
Mm,
I think that's also what has happened with me, because I think if you want to be a good reader or a healer or something, of course, you're always going to have your own ups and downs and problems, and life happens to all of us. But I think it's important that we also dare to look at ourselves, you know? And I have to sometimes look at, oh, am I honest with myself? Or how are things going now? Just so I can also release things that are weighing me down, so I can become more open to other things.
that's a bit about doing your shadow work.
Yeah,
You have to get rid of what weighs you down, and getting clear with your own intentions on what you are doing, so
yeah,
that you are not projecting your own inner shadow light to someone else, because that it ain't fair either. So, oh, you are touching such a huge subject. If I hadn't had a hint of this before, we should have changed the subject and got into so many other things here.
yeah,
But I love it. I love it. You
yeah,
are on the right track, Frida.
yes,
Absolutely. I
yeah.
totally love it. And no, we can't see that you have been hiding from expressing yourself. That is nothing that is shown right now. You are so comfortable in what you are talking, so this is so right for you.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people, like you talk about ascension, the interest for astrology has grown so much also lately. I have so many people that know about their horoscope today compared to when I started only 10 years ago. So a lot has happened, and more people get interested. And
Mm.
I also see that a lot of more people become, how can you say, they welcome new other methods, like, yeah, like I say, not just the traditional
Yeah.
science. They are more open. I think it's also when you look at the planets, what's happening in the world. I mean, Pluto will change sign also next year. It will, like, there will be, there's like a shift from my perspective going on. So I see a lot of people that are grasping more of their abilities and getting more into this. So when I look back, I can also see sometimes, like, maybe why I have been so lonely in this, because the fact that I've been so lonely and like pressed it down or kept it to myself makes has created a lot of things for me to put out there now. A lot of people like also what I say, and I'm really not used to that because I haven't talked about this with anybody. So it's
Yeah.
fun. It's really fun what's happening.
Yes, it is. And as you mentioned before, like, things are what should you say, accelerating and expanding, and they are shifting, and this is the shift. And for some people are literally waking up one day and have a knowledge that they're just going to start to teach. But for the most of us, we have been working on a lot of things, and as you said before, we have tools, and the more we're getting into this, we are activating it and letting it fall down and to actually be able to practice it. So it is in line to do so. And yeah,
And I
definitely.
think something thing there that sometimes hinders us people. I think we have been brought up, with the idea that we should know everything. We should know what we want to be. We should know where we're going, what kind of house we're gonna buy. Like that's something that has been with us from birth, basically. And for me, I've started applying another concept that I call I just do the next right thing. I don't look too far because for me, I know that everything can change when you look in the future. But I just mean do the next right thing. For me, it gives me a lot of compassion and calms me down because it means that I can trust in the process. I have something presented for me in front of me. I can look at it and I can listen to myself, yes or no, and I can choose, and it might be the next right thing. That's what I try to apply also in relationship to my astrology clients, because as an astrologer, having studied so long, I have a little bit like also those perfectionistic thoughts within me, that I should be good, I should deliver something, I should give something to people. And then we can also get caught up like, oh, I have to perform here, I have to be good, when you should just be in the process.
Yeah.
That's why it's so good to think about do the next right thing,
Mm.
and don't run any further than that.
And when you are actually evolving, and you experience that you can actually uh, broaden the knowledge of the ancient art, because you aren't supposed to practice. The ancient was good, and we are moving back to the circle is ending right now, so we are moving in a sort of way back to how it was in with the knowledge, but it's not there we are supposed to be. We are supposed to develop together with the knowledge, so we are supposed to shifting how we handle things too. And that is moving in, so that it will be so interesting to see when you are starting to teach, um, how you will do your teachings now, where you
Mhm.
have all these tools. It's going to be so exciting to follow you actually. So
Yeah, and yeah, I'm also excited. I hope that I really like the idea of connecting more with international people, because I think it's so great. I mean, now, yes, the COVID situation, we can talk about that another time, but it has also created a lot of opportunity for people like us, I think, because the community has gotten strengthened in some way. And for me, I even think like the internet, like you and I are sitting here today sharing experiences and knowledge. For me, I think sometimes like how the internet and the social media within spirituality has developed the last couple of years. It's really like a playground where you can go out. I have connected with so many interesting people. Yes, I do astrology. What do you do? Oh, tarot. Oh, interesting. Or I connect, it's so fun. So I really want to encourage people to do more of that, because I learned so much. And then you also realize that there's no hierarchy, right, in learning. I can learn from a 2-year-old, or I can learn from an 80-year-old, or we are just here to experience and share. It's so nice.
it is, and internet is a blessing today, because you are meeting new people, and you are getting all over the world, and presenting yourself. And oh, I like that also what you say, because there really aren't a hierarchy. There aren't. We are all the same, and we are also looking in, and you still using language as the ascended master. And yes, they have ascended, but they haven't ascended into a hierarchy. Okay, there is always a hierarchy, but their wish is to be seen as an equal to yourself. So it's human mind and human ego that puts them on a hierarchy, and start to worship, and that is not how it should work, and that is not how we should work either, because we are supposed to help each other,
Yeah.
and lift each other up,
Yeah.
And yeah, that is so important.
And that's so important because just like you say, we can you can talk about spirit guides or a team or entourage. I think you're more familiar in that than me, but when we talk about those things, I always reflect to that, you know, that just as you can think about oh, I have to ask my ascended master or my team about this. Sometimes I play with the thought that, okay, if time is not linear, let's, you know, it's circular, then it could be that I am just asking another aspect of me, you know, or that me from the future was here to leave some information for me in the present, you know. I play around with those thoughts also because I think it's so important that we realize that hierarchy, that's an old paradigm, like you say. And also to what I want to do with people is strengthen their agency. Because when we see the spiritual community, correct me if I'm wrong, but some people like to put a lot of their power outside of themselves, you know. Oh, I need this crystal, I need this feather, I need this, or I need this astrologist, or I need this. You have to also realize, I say to my clients so often that it's about you. If they ask me, what about my love life or what about my career? Then I can say what I see. But I always tell them at the end of the day, you are the expert.
Mm,
I am mirroring you. I look at the reflection of you, but you know, and most of the times they know inside
mm.
what comes up if it feels right or not for them. So I want to really strengthen people like that also.
Yeah, and you surely are. I'm getting so impressed. I wasn't seeing this coming at all. You have such a knowledge with you that you are sharing, and I'm just keep getting this like we are going to do a chit chat with Frida later on, and we are going to talk about so many things that are connected to this in the spiritual realms. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
not getting away now, Frida. You are.
No, that's really good. I look forward. And like I say, I have not
Mm.
even seen myself this way before. I started realizing now when I had clients coming to me that are intergalactic mediums and those sort of things. And I look at the horoscope and I'm like, it's a little bit similar to mine.
Yeah.
Like I am still so slow in this process. I'm like, I'm an astrologer. Anybody could be an astrologer. But the fact is that we have to honor our own unique
Yeah.
abilities. I have to do that with myself.
And you have to live your life, and that is very important. You shouldn't forget about your own life because we are here. We are humans. We're having a human experience. So even if we are multidimensional beings, we are still here having a human experience. So please experience your human side because that
Yes.
is why we are here. So, yeah, we are going to move on because you
Hmm?
have promised me to do a short reading.
Yes.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes, I just realized that I just have to quickly get my phone. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have it on there.
I'm just
Um,
some water here.
so,
Um,
let's
uh,
see.
and we
Sorry.
also have someone who's a comment here. Says
Yeah.
Lisbeth Groneman says hi from Denmark. Hi, Lisbeth. And we have Liselott Silvia Cruz and best Frida. Yeah. And for those who doesn't know, Liselott is my beloved sister. She's my oldest sister. So, hi, sweetie. Yes.
Yeah, but now, yes, I got your birth time and your birth data. The thing is that I wanted to ask you if this birth time is confirmed because that is very important in astrology. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Do you know if this is your actual birth time?
It is what my mom has been telling
Yeah,
me before, so I have to stick with that.
yeah, that's good. No, but what I can say just by looking at your chart really quickly is that okay, we can talk about the intuitive aspects or yeah, the intuition, the water, you know, the water element in astrology. And I can see that there's like a great integration when it comes to that in your horoscope because you have something called like a grand trine in your horoscope in water signs. And that means to me that many times people that have that are very good at using their abilities when it comes to intuition or feelings or everything that is more floating in that sense. So that I can see in your horoscope, but also that the great emphasis in your chart is on the eighth house. The eighth house is connected to Scorpio. It's connected to Pluto, transformation. It's everything that is, below the surface in terms of psychology or transformation, witchcraft, all those sort of things. And for you to have Sun, Venus, Uranus, and Pluto there, it tells me that there's a great emphasis in your life on those life areas, and also that your identity is very much involved in those transformative processes, if you know what I mean. For some people, it can even feel like you have maybe lived a life, like one life has contained like 100 lives or transformation, because there's a lot going on, and there's like this drive to go deep down, to uncover or to realize things that are not everyday subjects. Can also be witchcraft, tarot, everything of those things. I would say it could even be, and I'm just looking at your Uranus now, but it could even be like there is, I don't know, something, like metaphysics, that like maybe Uranus in the eighth house, you could be very like sensitive to those metaphysical energies in some way. It's like, because Uranus is like electricity, and it's like information. It's like retrieving information from the ether. And for you to have Uranus in the eighth house, I would say that is quite strong. Some people that I know with this aspect, they can like hold a book and they can like feel the book, in them. So that is also something I see. But another thing that is quite important to mention is also, I wanted to ask you about your internal life and your emotions and those things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel like there's a need for you to understand your emotions, like to understand them, make sense of them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
is
over analyzing
yeah,
things, probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I see a little bit in the horoscope, that it's a tendency maybe to wanting to constantly understand those also internal processes. And that is great when it comes to being curious and, talking with people. I'm sure you're good at talking with kids also, in that sense. But it's very important that you also allow yourself to just be in those feelings, because the mind is going to want to understand what's going on here. And sometimes we know that the mind cannot find meaning. We have to just experience, right? So that is something that I see a little bit also when I look at your moon. Your moon is in Gemini. The
Beginning.
moon, we talk about the emotionality, we talk about the daily rhythm, we talk about the inner child, internal world. So Gemini, the moon in Gemini tells me that there is a lot of curiosity also within you, but sometimes remember to just be. Yeah, that's very important. And other than that, I mean, you could be also maybe a psychologist or something like that, because the transformative interest is so strong in you. You can work with something also that wants to uncover layers, find the meaning, find deeper meaning, find truth. I would say. Do you have any question about your horoscope? Of course, I cannot do a whole 1 hour reading, but I can see a few things. Is there something you're wondering about?
Well, you are so right on spot, and I just have to say that someone just popped in here because I had got a very, very high pitch in my left ear and a shiver through all of my left side here, so that was a confirmation that I need to just be sometimes, and I'm kind of heard it before. Can't help me analyzing things. It helps me understand how everything is working and how I work and how I actually are receiving the moment that I am experience. So I love that part. I love that part. Well, I don't get it, but with this eight house and what's that?
Well, in astrology, we when we draw up a horoscope, we it's like a circle where we have different, like almost like a pie chart, and the different sections in the horoscopes are called houses. And it's basically just us as humans trying to draw up a system to divide the sky into certain sections. Because based on that section, you also make conclusions related to life areas or certain topics. So the eighth house corresponds to Scorpio and has to do with, deep transformation, or it has to do with other people's money, taxes. It has to do with death, rebirth, because that's also like a transformative process. It has to do with like the psychology, the depth of psychology. So yeah, when you have a lot, for example, in house 8, 12, or 4, those are the water houses. If there's a lot of planets there, of course, there's going to be an emphasis on those energies that you're going to maybe be more deep in some sense, so to speak. But what is quite interesting also, I don't know if you grow plants, but like what I see is also because there's a great need, like what I say, to understand, uncover, go deeper in others, but also in you, of course. And one thing that you could do to find more of your psychological base or feeling more grounded is to actually put your fingers in soil. Anything that has to do with things connected to Taurus, that would be like nature, going out in nature, walking a dog in nature, growing plants. Because when we are so much, the eighth house, you have a Scorpio MC, you have a lot in Scorpio there. I would say that then we are so much, in the floating state, the deep transformative states. And what we need sometimes to complement that with is the practical. It's seeing a plant grow up, feeling the soil on our fingers, because that makes us feel grounded. So
Mm.
that can be a really good thing based on the horoscope also.
Oh, I love to be in nature,
Yeah,
and I love to sit with my trees and grass and everything outside. I'm terrible with house plants, but but besides that, I love it.
yeah.
So
I,
yeah.
I see that as something quite important. Like you have a place to retreat, to reconnect with those nature forces of nature, so to speak, to find that earth element that is really important for your grounding.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're lifting up so much that is totally accurate. I know this since before, and since I've been analyzing myself for a very long
Yeah.
time, I can just say you're right on spot, and it's so true. And I also just want to confirm another part that you're actually by talking, you have been giving me a lot of information during this little time, but you have also been touching those what I call shadow work things that every person need to go inside and work with, and that is something that you have to work with before you started to work with other people, and you have actually lifted those up that I have been working with, those aspects that I have been working with. So yeah, high five to you, Frida.
Yeah, thank you. I try to do the same with me because, yeah, it's we all carry these processes, right? It's
uh,
and it doesn't end. It will continue.
it
So,
does. It's a
yeah,
never ending story.
yeah,
We also
exactly.
have to do this.
But what I want to give to people is also, like I say, I want to see people and I want to tell people, don't give up. Don't give up. Because even if society has told you that you are no good or you should do this or sit quiet or do that,
Mhm.
there is a like potential for you now to take charge or decide or just be. I want to inspire more people to just be, because I myself have also been through many years with my horoscope, so to speak, being restricted, tied down, being afraid of standing out. And I am a little bit done with that now. So now I can inspire others to do the same.
That sounds so lovely.
Yeah.
You're so right. We just need to relax some bit because we are always, oh, not always, but very often we are chasing some things in our lives, and we have this, like, program just to chase around things, material stuff, and we forget about ourselves and the emotions that we have and the family structure and etc. So yeah, we need to just let go of things and go inside, and ascension will happen anyway,
Yeah,
and it will be easier to tap into those tools that are lying inside yourself if you start to get inside yourself and listen to it. And you mentioned it earlier too, that everybody has these tools inside of themselves, so we are just need to find the means to be using them and how to use them.
exactly. I think so too. And as I say, there are many roads to that. You can choose so many roads. You can even just live your life, basically. But of course, there are astrology and other tools that we can implement to create some sort of like a fun development. Should be also fun, you know.
It should
Um,
be.
it's
It should.
very important
Yeah.
because I have also walked around my first 30 years thinking that this place is like a hellhole. I don't want to be here, you know, the whole being bitter.
Mm.
And it's I understand why it was there for me, but I want to just say that it doesn't have to be like that. Um it like there are so many possibilities like for us. So many possibilities. We just need to embrace maybe that it is a little bit like this going, nothing is just straight, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If the road was straight, we shouldn't be learning anything. We
be
wouldn't be
boring.
here having this human experience. So we have to go inside and out of the emotions and
Yeah,
learn how to handle it and to move on and
yeah.
do the best of it. So
And that's also how we get a flexible mindset, because that's something I see as important also today, because we tend to get stuck, like I say, either we get stuck that we don't like astrology, or we get stuck like, oh, we love astrology and we're so into that. I
mm,
just want to say that even if as an astrologer I have times where I am a little bit tired of astrology, and that's good, because that's what I mean when we talk about balance, that it's supposed to be fluctuating sometimes, and it's really so important, like you say, to be in the human experience. Yes, I can talk to somebody about really concepts about the different timelines or realities or astrology or whatever. The next minute I'm standing next to my toddler and I'm making a macaroni for him. Like it's really important to be able to also find yourself here in this experience. Eat, sleep, like do what you have to do, and go astray sometimes, but you need to find your point back. That's what I tell people.
yeah,
And that's what I say, that that's how we train ourselves to fly off, experience, come back to ourselves.
yeah. It's not all about speaking your truth. It's also about living your truth. You
Yeah,
have to put the actions into your words.
yeah.
So and you are.
And as you say, as healers, as you and me as healers, yes, we have our things too, so there's no
Oh
hierarchy.
yes.
I have problems with my spouse. I have the things happening to me. We all do. So
Yeah.
that's so important that we need to understand that we are all just there.
Are you a human? You will have a human experience, and no
Yeah.
one is getting away from that. But you have a
No.
free will of choice how to handle it. You can either learn and move on and let go of what no longer serves you, or you can stay in that depression mood and then not choose to do anything. So that is the free choice of how to handle it. The
Yeah.
experience, no, no one is getting away from that. But the choice, yes, absolutely. You
Yeah.
have a free will of choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm just gonna check Facebook here to see if anyone has a question, and I can't see that it's just hellos and sharing ons here. So yeah, I think you're going to leave that, but we are going to start closing down here,
Yes.
and I just want to know if there's something you want to pop in there that you feel that we haven't been mentioned that you want to express.
No. I mean, I would like to come back to talk to you another time, because I think it's really nice, and it's so I can feel your presence. It's really nice to talk to you. So, but apart from that, I just say that people who are interested in me, they can follow my Instagram if they want. I call my to practice esoteric adventures. So on Instagram, my name is Esoteric, and then a little underline adventures. Because this is my esoteric adventure. I'm going off astrology, I'm exploring, so I share that with people. So follow me if you want, and I also have a link there if there's anybody who's interested in seeing me for a consultation. I do it online all over the world, so it's
But you
possible.
have a homepage too, right?
Yeah. I have a link to my webpage on my Instagram account also that you can go to.
And I would like for you to put your um, links in the comment field.
Yes. Do
So
I go to chat then, or do I
you
go
can
to?
do it here on the chat box, or you can do it on Facebook in the comment fields there, so people know where to get in touch with you. Oh, that's good. That's good. Because then people can pause and just write
Yes.
down. Yeah, what
Yeah.
text it perfectly. So you had both your homepage and your Instagram account tucked in there. Oh, that's marvelous. Just marvelous.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Frida. It's been
Yes.
so interesting talking to you, and I have learned a lot, and I will do my best to remember it. Uh, but it's so interesting, and yes, definitely we are going to do another chit chat in the future, nearby future, about
Yes.
the whole esoteric world. Oh, that is going to be so much fun. But
Yeah.
from now on, thank you so much, Frida, and yeah, go out and be in the sun because it's a very beautiful day today.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody who's listening. And we will be sharing this on the other pages and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram too. So you will be able to catch it there too. So have a nice day and blissful love to all of you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.